When people first learn MBTI, they discover their function stack, the 4 core functions that feel most natural. But what about the parts of you that feel unnatural? The sides that only show up when you're stressed, insecure, or in conflict? The parts that don't feel like you, but still shape your behavior? Those are your shadow functions, the dark side of your personality. They're not evil. They're not broken. But they are the functions you struggle with, the ones that trip you up when life gets messy. Today, we're breaking down exactly what shadow functions are, how they work, and why they're the key to unlocking your hidden growth. What are shadow functions? Every MBTI type has 8 functions total. 4 are in your conscious stack: the dominant, auxiliary, tertiary, and inferior. The other 4 sit in your unconscious shadow. They're the same functions, but flipped in orientation, introverted to extroverted. For example, an INTP's stack is Tine-Si-Fe. Their shadow is Tene-Si-Fi. An ESFJ's stack is Fise-Ne-Ti. Their shadow is Fise-Ne-Te. These shadow functions don't feel natural. They often come out when you're stressed, defensive, or overextended. The 4 shadow roles. Just like the conscious stack, the shadow has its own positions. Opposing role resists and contradicts your dominant function. Critical parent, harsh, judgmental, and limiting. Trickster, confuses and manipulates, often unconsciously. Demon, the most destabilizing, but also a hidden path to transformation. These roles explain why you sometimes act out of character. The opposing role. The opposing role is the shadow version of your dominant function. It often shows up as defensiveness when someone challenges how you normally operate. Example, an INTP leads with TIE, internal logic. Their opposing TE can come out as stubbornly forcing external systems or arguing about efficiency they normally don't care about. An ESFJ leads with FE, harmony. Their opposing Phi can make them suddenly self-absorbed, withdrawing in ways that confuse others. This role says, "You can't tell me how to do my strength. I'll prove it the opposite way." The critical parent. The critical parent is the second shadow role, and it's the shadow counterpart of your auxiliary function. Where your auxiliary function normally supports and balances you, the critical parent shows up as a harsh, judgmental voice. Instead of encouragement, it scolds. Instead of support, it criticizes. It often appears in moments of stress, guilt, or insecurity, either turned inward as self-criticism or outward as judgment toward others. How it feels internally. The critical parent sounds like an inner nagging voice saying things like, "You're not responsible enough. You're not working hard enough. You're wasting your potential." It's not gentle. It's the stern parent in your head that leaves you feeling trapped or ashamed. How it shows up in types ENFP, Nephi. Normal mode explores ideas with excitement, guided by personal values. Shadow mode, critical parent. CT says, "You're too scattered. You never stick to anything. You'll never succeed without discipline." Mini story. An ENFP brainstorms new projects, but under stress, their critical parent voice scolds them for being unreliable. So they overcorrect, rigidly forcing themselves into strict routines that drain them. ISTJ, CT, normal mode, steady, reliable, detail-oriented. Shadow mode, critical parent Nephi says, "Stop imagining. You're being irresponsible with these crazy ideas. You're not being realistic." Mini story. An ISTJ considers a new business venture, but immediately shuts themselves down, their inner critic, telling them, "That's not practical. You'll fail." ENTP, Nati. Normal mode, quick, clever, bouncing between ideas. Shadow mode, critical parent Sci-Fi says, "You're ignoring tradition. You're not respecting others' feelings. You're being reckless." Mini story. An ENTP pitches bold innovations at work, but when stressed, their shadow scolds them for being insensitive and careless. They suddenly become rigid, lecturing themselves and others about following rules. ISFJ, CFI, normal mode, gentle, dependable, caring for others. Shadow mode, critical parent. Natai says, "You're not thinking this through. You're being irrational. You're making poor choices." Mini story. An ISFJ comforts a friend, but when their shadow emerges, they internally berate themselves for not giving logical advice, undermining their natural gift of emotional support. When it turns outward, sometimes the critical parent isn't just in your head, it comes out toward others. The ENFP, usually fun-loving, suddenly lectures friends about being irresponsible. The ISTJ, normally reliable, dismisses others as unrealistic dreamers. The ENTP, usually playful, snaps and accuses others of not respecting tradition. In these moments, people may feel blindsided because it doesn't feel like your normal self. The growth side. Even though the critical parent feels harsh, it has a hidden purpose. It pushes you toward responsibility. It forces you to confront areas where you avoid discipline or balance. When integrated, it can help you set boundaries, develop self-discipline, and respect perspectives you'd normally dismiss. In short, the critical parent is the shadow voice that criticizes you into maturity. Painful in the moment, but powerful when you learn to listen without letting it dominate. The trickster. The trickster is the shadow version of your tertiary function. It plays games with you, twisting reality in ways that cause confusion. Example. An INFJ's tertiary T normally helps refine their insights. But their shadow trickster, can make them over-apply rules, manipulate facts, or weaponize structure when cornered. An ESTP's tertiary Fae usually charms others. But their shadow Phi, trickster, may suddenly make them self-righteous, accusing others of not respecting their values. The trickster often causes misunderstandings in relationships. It bends logic, values, or perceptions in ways that don't quite line up. The demon is the shadow of your inferior function. It's the darkest, most destabilizing part of your personality. When activated, it can feel destructive, not only to others but to yourself. Example. An INTJ has inferior C, so their demon is Psi. Under extreme stress, they may obsess over past mistakes, replaying them endlessly until it paralyzes them. An ESFP has inferior Ni, so their demon is Ni. In their darkest moments, they may imagine endless catastrophic scenarios, overwhelming themselves with anxiety. But here's the paradox. The demon is also your greatest source of growth. By learning to integrate it, you can transform insecurity into wisdom. Shadow in real life. At work. You might normally be composed, but during stress, your opposing role lashes out. A usually calm INTP suddenly micromanages their team with strict rules. In relationships, your critical parent may show up as judgment. A caring ENFP suddenly scolds their partner for never being responsible enough. In crisis, the trickster may distort reality. An ISTP accuses someone of hidden motives that don't exist. In daily life, the demon whispers doubts. An INFJ obsesses over failures from years ago, convinced they'll repeat them. Why shadow functions matter? Shadow functions matter because they show us the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. They explain why you sometimes act out of character. They reveal the inner critic that sabotages your confidence. They expose the raw, unpolished edges of your personality. But they also hold the keys to growth. The opposing role teaches you flexibility. The critical parent teaches discipline. The trickster teaches humility. The demon teaches transformation. When you recognize your shadow, you stop fearing it and start integrating it. Shadow functions are the dark side of your personality, but they're not your enemy. They're the parts of you that challenge, frustrate, and humble you. But they're also the parts that push you to grow beyond your comfort zone. So the next time you feel yourself acting unlike you, don't panic. Ask, is this my shadow speaking? Because only by facing the shadow can you become whole. Drop your MBTI type in the comments and share when you've noticed your shadow showing up. And if you enjoyed this, check out our next video, MBTI and Personal Growth.